Hi, my name is Steve, and we're going to be going over the I'm Responding records management tools and different reports and data that I'm Responding provides to you and your agency. During the session, we're going to be reviewing these I'm Responding reports. Some may look very familiar to you. Others may have put a puzzled look on in your mind and started your developing questions. Well, let me answer some of those questions about what these are. First off, we're going to start talking about NFIRS reporting. It's free. That's right. All I'm Responding subscribers get free access to complete their NFIRS reports in I'm Responding. The completed reports can be exported directly to you for safekeeping in your own files or cloud storage, or the reports can be sent from I'm Responding to wherever they need to go. To start getting NFIRS up and running for your agency, first you want to take a look at the very bottom of your own personal profile. You can look at your personal profile on the I'm Responding website, which is what we're doing here. But you can also do this in the I'm Responding application. In the application, you're going to touch the three horizontal lines in the upper left. Go to Settings, open the user profile and credentials at the very top. Once you're in the profile, go down to the bottom. If you see an option that says NFIRS, your agency already has NFIRS. If you don't see the option that for the NFIRS button there, either on your profile on the website or in the app, we need to activate it for you. You'll see here on the screen on the right-hand picture that there are three different levels of access, permission levels for NFIRS program. There is the simple NFIRS, which allows you to create reports, basic NFIRS, which allows you to create and submit reports, and full NFIRS, which allows you to do the administrative setup, create reports, submit them, and approve them. You'll see kind of what those mean in a few moments. Each person in your agency who has one of these permission levels will also require a personnel ID. The biggest rule for that is just that two people in the same agency don't have the same number. So if you use badge numbers or any type of agency ID, anything that you want to come up with, it's really kind of, I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but you can invent it on your own. The fourth permission level is just simply none. If the option is none, a personnel ID number is not required at all. When you get to your member's profile and the NFIRS section is not displayed, you can contact the I'm Responding support team and request that we get NFIRS activated for you. But please wait until next week. I don't just say that in jest, but we have many people attending this training, and the NFIRS program does need to be turned on manually, well, one agency at a time. So please, if you don't see the NFIRS permissions in your profiles and you want it turned on for your agency, set an appointment in your calendar for any random time next week. Send an email over to us. Be sure that the word NFIRS is in the subject line. And in the body of the email, you're letting us know what you want, but please provide your agency and what state you're in. We'll handle the requests and provide an email back to you with setup instructions as quickly as we can, which may be 1 or 2 days. But please check your profile first. You may not need to make the request to us at all. At the bottom of your profile, you'll see the NFIRS is there or it's not, and then you'll need to reach out to us. There are some sub-steps between giving yourself permission and actually inputting a report. Those basic admin steps, we're going to skip over for the purpose of this presentation. There are simple things about how you want the reports exported from I'm Responding and inputting your agency's own FDID number. We have a YouTube video training and an NFIRS guide, a PDF guide that go through all these administrative steps, and we can help you through those. But for this training, we're going to skip those steps. We're going to go right to inputting a new report. To do that, in the I'm Responding administrative functions, you're going to go to the button that says NFIRS 5.0. And we're going to take a look at these images here. Once NFIRS 5.0 opens, it's going to be a separate tab in whatever browser you're on. You're going to go to the top of the screen where it says Incidents Report and choose New Incident Report, which we see here in the upper left. On the incident report, the basic form, which we see on the upper right, in the lower left, and then it continues to the upper right. The date automatically fills in with today's date, so you're going to want to change that if it was a call from yesterday or a week ago or a month ago. The incident number itself is automatically increasing. So if today your incident was number 12, tomorrow when you go in and create a new report, it'll automatically be number 13 for you. You can manually override that, but that's a very helpful tool. Some things that we have done to make the reports much easier to input is all the required fields themselves are orange. An example here of a trick that we've put in is you can view and pick an address from a map. So by clicking that red button on the right-hand side in the middle, you'll get a map provided, which is essentially going to be centered on your region. Now, it may be very zoomed out, but you can zoom in, go right to the street, the intersection, the house that you are at. And when you click on it, those address fields will automatically fill in based on what Google Maps has in their database. Even if Google Maps inputs slightly wrong data, for example, in a rural area, it may give you a range of addresses like 110 to 118. If you know that the house you went to is 116, you can just put your cursor in the address box, the house number box, delete the range and type in 116. But it is kind of fun to be able to zoom in and click on this address on the house and pops in there for you. Starting in the upper left, we also have what we call smart dropdowns. So for the incident type, this is the first one you're going to come across in the basic form. If you, for example, you see here, I typed in GAR. The smart dropdown is going to find GAR anywhere in any of the words. So it happens to be garbage dump for this one. But if I typed in the word over, it would find overhaul for actions taken, and it would also find recover. So it'll find the letters that you type in any word. It doesn't have to be the first word. But this smart dropdown is scattered throughout the reporting system so that you can find the answers you're looking for, the options you're looking for much quicker. The next image down on the left, we have what I call the none box. A lot of other reporting programs on the market, you have to click on a dropdown, scroll to the bottom, which could be lots of scrolling, and then say none of the above. We just put the none box right out there in the open in multiple different places of the reports. This allows you to very quickly just click none and move on. The dates and times are very simple. If you do have a call that was canceled, you can just click the canceled box and it fills in the rest of the dates and times for you. So there's a lot of different options there. And we also have the supplemental notes. So if there's anything in your incident that occurs that you don't want to go to the USFA, but you want to take record of, for example, if there was, goodness forbid, a fight on scene, or if another agency drove over your supply line and you wanted to record why there was any damage to some equipment, you can put those supplemental notes in here. So there's a lot of different tricks throughout that you can learn in our YouTube video that make our NFIRS reporting a little bit more unique and smoother about putting the data in. IaR allows you the unique ability, if you so choose to, you can input your members on the incidents that they attended. On the basic form where you're putting in the vehicles and the personnel, for example, I had 4 suppression vehicles and 12 suppression personnel. Instead of just putting in those digits, which you can if you want to, the option is there. We also have a module that takes you into a resources module where you can go much more in depth on the resources that attended. The image here that you see on the upper left, when you go back to the incidents report button on the top of the screen, it opens a list of available modules to you. We're, for the purpose of this presentation, only going to go into the resources, but these other ones are here for you. And if you've done your NFIRS reports, you are very familiar with them. In the resources module, you'll see on the right-hand side image, the basic form is still there, but the word basic is grayed out. And right now we're inputting apparatus number 1. The first thing we're going to do is go to the apparatus dropdown. It's a white field because it's not required. The type is required below that. But if you pick the apparatus dropdown, it'll pull up your vehicles from your administrative functions. Any of the vehicles that you've added to your system will be right there for you. So if, for example, you pick ladder 7, it'll automatically populate some of the other fields here based off of the ladder 7 profile that you created. You can also put in the unique times for each individual vehicle. Sometimes your vehicles are coming from a different call, so they show up to this incident 30 or 40 minutes later than the rest, or maybe they leave early to go to a different call. For the average incident, this probably isn't too important, but if you did have an incident where insurance is involved, where perhaps a car accident happened with one of your fire trucks, having these times and things listed could be very, very crucial. So we provide the ability to easily do that. Underneath this vehicle where we're putting in the times, you also have the ability to put in specific members that attended on each specific vehicle. And you can also list the actions taken by those members, either as a group. So you can say that these 4 people did these actions, or you could individually say that person number 1 did this, person number 2 did this, and continue on as you need to. You can be as specific or as general as you would like to. After putting your vehicles and members onto this report, there's a statistical report that we can provide you at the end that we're going to be seeing in a little bit. So now back to actually completing the report. As I mentioned, there are some different permission levels. The lowest level permission allows you to create a report and then hit this option in the upper right that says Save as Final. When you hit Save as Final, it's going to check for any NFIRS configuration errors, seeing if any of the fields or the data are incomplete or if they're not in agreement with another field. This, of course, won't check for any accuracy of your own information, but it will correlate it with NFIRS requirements, FEMA requirements for the report itself. If there are any errors, you'll see an orange banner on the screen, and you can just click on that error. It'll jump to that part of the report, put a red box around it, letting you know exactly this is what you need to be working on. As you fix those errors and go through, they'll slowly eliminate one by one, depending on how many there are, and allow you to complete the report, making sure that there's no errors or incongruency in the data. Going through these steps, first it's saved as final, ensures the opportunity for you to make sure that the data is complete and accurate. Once the report is saved as final, you're going to go back into the report. So it's the upper image that you see here. The small hand is on a pencil. That pencil allows you to go back into the same report. This is the first time you're going back into the report after you made sure that there's no NFIRS errors. This is a time for you to look through the report, make sure that all the handwritten information is correct, the times, the places, the people, the narrative. If everything looks good, you hit the option that we see in the very lowest right, Submit for Approval. This is something that the middle permission level can do. They can submit reports for approval. So it's a good thing for middle officers or something like that. Once the report is submitted for approval, only the top permission, the person with full NFIRS access, can approve the report. They do that by seeing that the report here is pending approval. They click on the pencil in the upper right, and it takes them into the report, and then they'll see the three buttons: cancel, reject, and approve that we see in the lower image. If they reject the report, it'll go back to the status saved as final, and where it can be worked on. Any changes can be made by whoever needs to make them, and then the report goes through the same processes again. If they do hit the option that says approve, which we can see the cursor hand here doing, the report is now approved for export. You can see that status in the bottom center of the screen. Over off on the far left side of that report, there's a box. When you click on the box, it turns blue. Right where the cursor hand is, it says export approved reports. This box is grayed out most of the time, or it's inert, it doesn't do anything. As soon as there's one report with a blue box on it, at least one, the export approved reports button becomes usable. You have the option of exporting multiple reports, dozens at a time, or one by one. Most agencies that I'm aware of will do monthly exports, or maybe 2 or 3 months at a time, rather than one by one. When we export these reports to you, let's, for example, say you did 50 reports over the course of a month. When we export them to you, we don't give you 50 individualized documents. It's one document that's very long, containing all 50 reports. And then you on your own can decide if you want to keep that on your desktop, if you want to put it in cloud storage, and of course you can submit it to wherever it needs to go if we don't do that for you. Once the reports are exported out of I Am Responding, we can give you a lot of statistics. We don't do this until after the reports are exported out of I Am Responding because the data is subject to change. But here's an example of some of the data that you can see. This is actually one long report starting in the upper left and going to the bottom right. So the total number of incidents, the average response time, incident duration, number of responders per incident. Right underneath that, it breaks it down separately into fire incidents and then rescue and EMS incidents. Starting in the upper right, we have the top 20 incident types, and it breaks it down per incident type according to the FEMA numbers, which ones you have the most of. This agency has, more than anything else, medical assist EMS crew. During the time frame that I had run, and you can pick your own time frame, there were 332 incidents. The average response time was 17 minutes. Number of responders, average incident duration, 30 minutes. Great statistics. In the next chart down, the total incidents per member. So this will take your entire member roster for anyone that you assigned to reports and tell you how many incidents they responded to, how many were fire, how many were EMS, and what percentage of the totals. The last chart there, the total incidents per apparatus, same thing as your members, but now we're looking at the apparatus. So you can see which vehicles are used the most often, what percentage of the calls they go on, and things like that. I'm Responding provides administrators the ability to pull a variety of reports. We're going to go back, we're going to go in and look at some of the reporting options that we provide other than NFIRS reporting. This first one is the scheduling report. This gives an accurate count of the hours and the minutes that your members have been on a shift. Very simply, you're going to go to the administrative functions of I'm Responding reports, and you'll see a pop-up. You're going to choose scheduling. When you run this report, you have the ability to pick specific persons or all members, as you can see here on the image on the left. Right underneath that, you can pick the specific duty category. So if you wanted to run a report for people who are only on duty for fire or only on duty for EMS, something like that, you can pick. And you can also have the ability to pick where the shift was performed. At home, station 1, station 2. Sometimes people run a shift, create a shift option for vacation. These on duty for options and where the shift is performed, the on duty at, are fully customizable. If you don't see the options that you want your agency to have, just let us know. Once you pick your time frame, you run the report and you get the report that you see here on the right side. It gives me a full breakdown of every individual shift in chronological order. And then at the very bottom, it gives me a member breakdown per member. How many hours and minutes did each member were they on shift during the time that I picked? These reports can be exported to Microsoft Excel, or they can be printed exactly as they are as a hard copy for you to use as needed. Next, we're going to be looking at the responders report. Similar to the scheduling, you're going to go to the administrative functions, reports, and then responders. This provides a list of all the times that your members have responded to the I'm Responding system. This doesn't differentiate between responding to station 1, responding to station 2. It doesn't differentiate between the option that says canceled or the option that says unavailable. But we just give you all the raw data and you can sort it as you need to. There's a very easy way to do this by exporting the report to Microsoft Excel. This lets you know how they responded, what their response was, and when, right down to the second. We have a lot of agencies who are paid on call or different organizations who use our system that aren't fire or EMS, and this allows them to see to the exact second who responded first, who gets that overtime shift at the hospital, things like that. The next one I know a lot of people don't know much about. This is a little known I'm Responding report called the address validation report. Members who have the permission on their profile will see a validate button on the lower left corner of their I'm Responding maps on the application and on the website. We do have a YouTube training video that specifically goes over the whole process of address validation. What it allows you to do is two things. First, if I'm Responding maps you to a location and the pin that we drop on the map is not correct, it could be off by a house. You could have two roads with very similar names, and they both have a 123 house number. Anyone with a permission can validate the location, move the pin to the correct place, and I'm Responding will then route on the computer and the app all of your members to the location that you picked. And it also puts your name on it, so everyone knows that you have verified this location. If you look at the CAD incident tile here on the left side, you'll see the top incident is gray. The address has not been validated for that incident, but the next one down, there's a green dot with an exclamation point. That green dot lets you know that the address was indeed validated. The other function of the address validation is even if I'm Responding maps you to the correct location, which we hope that we do, you can just hit the option to validate and then save without moving the pin. At a later time, you can pull up a report, which we're going to look at next, of all of the incidents that the address was validated, as well as a map showing all the pinpoints. So even if the address is correct, and you can do this retroactively, you don't have to do it at the time of the incident, you can do it a day or a week later. You can just validate the locations to create those reports. Next, we're going to take a look at the report itself. Again, in the administrative functions, you're going to go to reports and map verified incidents. Pick the time frame that you're interested in. The validated incidents report will provide a readable report of the address and the dates and times. And then it will also provide a map with all the pins that you can see here on the lower right-hand side. This is a great map, as well as a written report, if necessary, to provide to any of your neighboring areas that you may respond to often. Especially with the way that the economy is going and the world we live in, fire departments will often be contracted to respond to neighboring areas because they had to eliminate their fire department. If you then want to show, hey, we came to your area this many times and here's all the addresses, this is a real hotbed of activity here and this is how many times we've been there. This report will give you all of that data to bring to those meetings so that you can verify your costs or lack thereof if that's the way the direction of the responses go. Next, we're going to take a quick look at the expiration tracker. The expiration tracker allows you to keep track of anything with an expiration date, whether it's a driver's license, a TB, testing expiration, or equipment itself, ladders, SCBA tanks, things like that. We do have a help guide, which you can find right in IaR Responding by going to the help menu. All the hyperlinks down at the bottom, you'll see one here in the center of the screen that says expiration date tracker. That will open up a document that explains how to use this function. We'll go through a fairly involved overview here. The first thing you're going to do is in the administrative functions, you're going to go to the expiration date tracker. You're going to pick this option that says administrative functions of the expiration date tracker and then go to items to track. You'll see that there are two categories when you create items to track. So step number one on the right-hand side, there's individual items or agency items. Individual items are CPR cards, EMT certifications, things like that. Agency items are ladders, vehicle registrations, things that are specific to the agency. After the item categories are created, so you're going to create all the items first. Then you add the expirations for your individual members. For every member, you might select on step number one here. On the right-hand side, you're going to select the member's name in the dropdown, and then you'll see all of the individual items that exist. For example, if you pick Bob Smith, he might have 20 things underneath his name, but he'll only have expirations for the ones that you add. If some of the fields don't pertain to Bob, just leave those expiration fields completely blank. It won't interrupt or interfere with your notifications about the expiration tracking. When available, there's also a place for an ID number. So if people are getting a certification number or anything like that, you can put those in as well. If you have a CPR class or something where many of your members all attended at once, you can add an expiration date for all members or multiple specific members. Different from what we looked at a moment ago, here you're going to pick all the members first. You're going to then pick the item to be tracked. You can see here on the right-hand side, CPR certification. You can then put in the origination date, the expiration date, and then hit update. All of those persons will get that information updated simultaneously. Of course, it won't give them all the same ID number, but it will put in the dates for you right off the bat. Very easy to do. We can also track agency items or equipment. By putting all the things in, you can be very macro about this or very micro. Some agencies will say, test all the ladders. Another agency will individually list truck 4 attic ladder, truck 3 attic ladder. Just put all those things in. So it's up to you how you want to list the items here. But similar to the members, you just put in the expiration dates and you'll get the reports letting you know what's going to expire. How do you get those reports? So every single Monday morning around 9 a.m. your local time, IaR Responding will send out an email with a comprehensive list of everything that expires within a 4-month window. You'll get roughly 16 reminders that something is about to expire, whether it's an individual item pertaining to a person or an agency item. Using steps number 2 and 3 here, seen on the lower right, you can also notify your members about things that are going to expire that specifically pertain to them. Certifications, licenses, health screenings, things like that. IaR Responding also has an attendance and service tracker located in our administrative functions. There are 5 reports here that can be used to track your members' attendance, hours, and points. Each of these reports functions a little bit differently, but there are 2 basic formats. The first format, you create the event. In this case, we're doing a class, and you use that repeatedly, kind of like a template. So I'm not going to go through all these images one by one, but what you do is you create a class called Pump Ops. You're pre-programming that Pump Ops class. You're putting in that it's X hours long, that people get this many points for attending. Each time that class is completed, you pick that class from a list of pre-programmed options that you have put in. So after the class is programmed, you're then going to go to this screen. You're going to go to the option that says add class completions for groups or add class completions for individuals, right under where the cursor is located. After you've pre-programmed the class, after you've created the template of Pump Ops, you can now go in and very simply with 3 steps, pick the class, select the members, pick the date, and you're done. Every time Pump Ops happens, you just pick the class, pick the members, pick the date, and you're done. Very easy to do. So this is what I call a pre-programmed or a templated class. The next one is a little bit differently. We're going to take a look at training and drills. There are 4 steps here. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but every one of the 4 steps has to be completed. So this is not a templated class. Every time you have drill, you have to start from the beginning, put in the date, the time, who attended, the hours, the points, all those details every single time. We also have a non-NFIRS incident report, specifically for any agency using iResponding who is not a fire department in the United States. EMS, specialty teams, school districts, search and rescue teams. It's 8 simple steps. We're not going to go through each of the 8 simple steps, but it's very simple, just like the reports we were looking at a moment ago. Very simple boxes, description fields, click on the next step, very easy to do. I encourage everyone to test putting in data. Pick a random date in the past, like Halloween 2022, put in some test data to report, to try out all the different report types. See how you like inputting the data for the different report types and use the one that works best for you. Perhaps ignoring the title designations, classes, training and drills, miscellaneous. You may find that the classes report works best for you and you're going to use it for everything. But trying out and testing the reports is the best way to do that. When you've added in some test data into the different attendance and service tracker reports, you can get the data out of our system by going to the administrative functions, seen here on the left side, reports, and then the attendance and service points. This will give you a list of reports that you can see here on the right-hand side. Each of these individual reports, when you go into them, there's some different options that you can choose to make the report data more data rich or more data general. So in each report, there's different options. Play with them all. After you've put in some dummy data for a date in the past, not to interfere with anything you're doing today, put in some data, see what the reports give you, and see what works best for your agency's needs. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back with you in just a few moments.